This is More Knowledge, More Wealth with your host, Gabriel Shahin. Gabriel is a certified financial planner and a registered investment advisor at Falcon Wealth Planning. This show does not intend to provide personalized investment advice through this broadcast and does not represent that the services or securities discussed are suitable for any investor. Investors are advised not to rely on any information contained in the broadcast in the process of making a full informed investment decision. Now here's your host, Gabriel Shahin.
Good day. This is Gabriel Shahin, certified financial planner and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth here on every weekend, talking about all important topics of personal finance. My job is to go over the knowledge you need to increase your wealth. Now, to the listener, you can always reach out to myself or any one of our colleagues here at Falcon Wealth Planning. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, where you can go on our Knowledge Center, which gives you a direct link to YouTube, where we've had well over 1 million views, multiple videos that help answer the questions that you have. And if you want to put an inquiry so we can talk about it on the show or create a Knowledge Center video, please send your inquiry to radio@falconwp.com. That's radio@falconwp.com. And also you can go get this episode, any one of our previous episodes on Spotify, podcasts, you name it, folks. Now, I'm the president of Falcon Wealth Planning. We are a fee-only, non-commission, true fiduciary, folks. And we talk about all important topics of personal finance. That's where you are today, how retirement looks like, investments, estate planning, insurance, folks, you name it. Anything that involves a dollar sign, we can help you with. And we are offering 1 to 2 meetings, 1 to 2 hours of our time, folks, at no cost to help relate this show to your specific situation. And we have offices all across the country that we can help you with. Folks, give us a buzz. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird, where we can help answer those questions that you have to help with your financial situation. Lots to talk about today, folks. Just so much has happened since the fires here in Southern California. I feel like 2025 didn't start off so well with the terrorist attacks over in New Orleans and Vegas. And then you had the fires over in Southern California, which started with the winds. And then you started hearing a lot more about arsonists. And then just the stock market, of course, it's having some volatile times. So, I mean, there's just a lot going on. But I promised, as I try to be a voice for Southern California, especially in the world of economics, that I want to discuss the financial impact that the fires are happening here in Southern California, let alone the world. I mean, you have some prominent individuals that are working and living all across Southern California that are impacted. And by the way, those who live on the hills and the mountainside on San Gabriel Mountains, these are not cheap homes. Now, I'm not here to say, plead for the rich or the poor. It doesn't matter. But the point is, these are multi-million-dollar homes when you have the view of the water and so on, let alone Palisades, Pacific Palisades. You have multiple. Fires are bad no matter what. But the problem with these hillside San Gabriel Mountains is these are high-risk areas and also very expensive homes. So when you start to look at the now tens of thousands of those affected during these fires, you're looking at tens of billions. You have some estimates over $100 billion. You have almost a third of those with no insurance because of the state fair plan. And you have well over half of them that even with the fair plan, which is a state mandated because insurance carriers did not want to cover California. Now, it's not because they are pure capitalists and evil and no, you're a risk. It's because when you take a look, in 2024, the $100 million in funding of fire prevention that was cut. And when you take a look as this continues, the brush removal was suspended, which State Farm went on record and said, you need to do this or we can't insure you. This is a mess waiting to happen. And our government said, no, we want to save money. We can't afford to do it. And because of that, the insurance carrier said, you know what, we're not dealing with you crazies in California. You can't make this crap up. I'm going to say that probably 100 times today, exaggerating, of course, but it's insane. So they got out. And this fair plan, oh, by the way, only covers $3 million. Now, let's say your house is worth $3 million and it burned to the ground. they're not going to write you a check for $3 million. They might write you a check for $1 million. Who's they? The insurance. Now, why is that? Well, it's because your land is worth something, right? Now, the problem I have is you still have to go through the permitting. You still have to go through the debris cleanup. You still have to go through just living through chaos of potentially just the supply and demand of contractors. Like what used to be $250 a square foot to build might be $350 to $400 if you want your home built sooner. Supply and demand. We saw that with rental prices here in Southern California. We saw people living in these $10 million plus mansions that were $22,000 a month to rent a home is now $30,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who cares, right? These people can afford it. If you can afford $22,000, you can probably afford $30,000. Like, who cares? We don't care. We're not crying over rich people. And a lot of you are saying these are rich liberal celebrities that got this coming. And I'm going to go over some of the issues that we have seen now during these fires. And just what some of you are talking about on the political side of it. I already talked about, and we all know, issues that Karen Bass, the LA mayor, along with Gavin Newsom, the governor, which, by the way, been since 2019, and he was lieutenant governor from 2011 to 19, so he's no stranger to politics here in California. We're going to discuss some of the things that they're doing. Now, I know it's the topic, the main topic here is let me see if I get this right. I wrote it down. I told you I'm going to be prepared for this. $24 billion that was spent since 2019 to 2014 on homeless problems, which, oh, by the way, it's only gone up worse over 6 times. Homelessness has gone up 6x, which the documented was 30,000 back in 2019 to now 181,000. That's 160,000 a person. Now, it's kind of crazy to think, right, that you're spending that much on homelessness and you need the money from somewhere. So where are they getting that money from? They're cutting it from items like this service that we're providing to keep our land safe. Now, I've come up with a term, and that is taxation without representation. Have you heard of that? That whole logic is why United States of America is not part of the United Kingdom. And the British was taxing and not doing a thing. Can you think about, I'm just thinking about a potential lawsuit of people in the Palisades and these fires that are specifically the Palisades, because there was no water there, right? They went to try to water these homes, the fire department. And by the way, there's all this DEI concepts, and I get it. Some of these things that they're saying is pretty bizarre, but Kristen Crowley, the LA Fire County Chief, which I originally was very critical on, she ended up standing up and saying, listen, that is not our job. We go there expecting water to be had. That is not our problem. She manned up, if I may say, and she answered directly. And then you hear Janice Quinones of the DW Power, Department of Water and Power. They're saying, hey, why are you maintaining the reservoirs? Why did you empty it out, is what they're saying, right? Is what the people are saying, is what the media is saying. And Gavin Newsom saying, I don't know what's going on. It's these people's fault. It's this person's fault. And then you heard this most eloquent speech, this eloquent articulation of it, like, listen, number one, it's not a repair. It's a maintenance. Yes, they wanted us to drain it and keep it empty, because if we don't do that, we don't get paid. We're just doing it based on the regulation. This is what they want. This is the problem with over-regulation, is logic is just gone with no backup plan at all. Makes no sense at all, right? You had no fire hydrant testing as well. In 2024 and 2025 was suspended for hydrant testing. I'm thinking yet again, you're paying how much? Tens of thousands of dollars for your property. If you have a $10 million home that you bought, hundreds of thousands of dollars for your property. LA County charges 1.2+% a year. What does that mean? You buy $1 million home, you pay $12,000 a year. $10 million, $120,000. You're paying for certain services that are core. Your firefighters, let alone your police officers, let alone for a fire hydrant that has water in there. Municipal services that are there to protect you. You're paying these taxes expecting it to be there? Yes, that is why I'm saying taxation without any representation. I'm curious if they get that money back. Just crazy and bizarre to me. And I'm just going to go back to the suspension of the Bush removal. President Bush, the brush removal, and that is going over just how they thought that was okay. Like, shame on you. These are our people. These people are struggling, and you do a perfect storm. And I've seen Trump's comments that he was making. Another person, a fire chief that Joe Rogan was actually mentioning, that mentioned that 6 months ago, mentioned this, and saying that if a perfect storm happens and the winds come up, it can burn all of LA down. And man, oh man, did we not see that. The fire department funding, the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, cut almost $18 million of funding for the fire department. Now she's coming out saying, well, I didn't say to cut it, just maybe move it till later on, whatever the case is. There was no water. Empty water supply, holding $117 million gallons, has been empty for nearly a year. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The fire chief's priorities were LA DEI. Listen, I have no problem with DEI. I don't. Quite frankly, Kristen Crowley, the fire chief, which I know said that was one of her initiatives, I get it. All I'm saying is that she answered the questions correctly. Whether she's in there, and by the way, same thing with Janice Quinones, which they brought from the outside, where the previous CEO was making $400,000, this person making $750,000. They made it clear they wanted a minority, they wanted a woman, and so on. But she's actually pretty smart. She's a PE. She's a principal engineer. She's answering questions that people have. She's given those answers. So it's important to just take that step back and realize this. Like, yes, DEI, but you need qualified people for DEI. Quite frankly, I just think hiring qualified people is important. If you want to seek these people that have a different mindset and backgrounds, I respect that. I understand that. People want someone that looks like them, acts like them, talks like them. I get it. But Karen Bass has proven herself not to do very well. And you look at somebody who is that typical politician, who reminds me of Justin Trudeau. Just because you look good, you have nice hair, and you're always smiling, doesn't mean you're good at your job. It's official that Gavin Newsom sucks at his job. He's dancing around. I don't get political on my shows, but when you got people that are dying and people going, you're going in there and trying to get water out. I mean, how sad for the firefighters that are suited up, ready to go, mentally, psychologically, physically ready to put out these fires, and nothing is there? I don't even know I can't even tell you what that equates to. Imagine going to your house to go on the shower and there's no water there. And how mad you would be. You pay your bills, but no. Imagine when your life's on the line and somebody's life's on the line and their life savings and everything they work for and all their memories is also on the line. Imagine that times 20,000 homes. So you continue this conversation with all of a sudden firefighters who were fired for not getting vaccinated, by the way. So now there's like a shortage there. Let alone certain people that are maybe not equipped to be firefighters. And then you have, of course, the state farms that announced that non-renewals for almost 70% of the policies in the Pacific Palisades due to brush risk and poor management. Who's in charge of that management? Where does that crawl up? This is the disgrace of what's happening in America, let alone California. How are we allowing this to happen? I get it. You want states to run independently, but when something is so clearly wrong, like, who's voting for these idiots? Like, I get it. Dead people are voting and the animals are voting. Forget illegals. Sure, they're voting too. But, like, we're the people. Everybody you talk to is upset. Even the most aggressive liberal person is upset at what's going on right now. They're unhappy with how it's managed. They're upset at somebody, whether it's Karen Bass or it's Gavin Newsom. This is one of the greatest states in the country that's been a laughingstock for 5 years. Who's been the governor for 5 years? Who's been governor since 2019? I mean, he had this whole master plan of spending. Let me get this right. It was $24 billion, only to make the problem 6 times worse and now dangerous? Who is this guy? And he smiles, laughs, mocks the person who brings that up. This is the type of frustration that the people want change. This is the reason why Donald Trump got elected. Because people are unhappy. They think we're stupid. Just because you look nice, just because you have a nice tone, just because you smile, doesn't mean you know what the hell you're talking about. Got to catch my breath here because I'm absolutely pissed, and I still got a lot more to talk about. I'll be right back after a few words. This is Gabriel Shahin, Certified Financial Planner and President of Falcon Wealth Planning. We wanted to offer you a free financial assessment for listening to the show so you can help relate it to your specific situation. We offer multiple services such as retirement planning, where you are today, how retirement looks like, talking about Social Security, real estate, planning, even if you own a business, talking about taxes, not just how to save money today, but also throughout retirement. Talk about investments, making sure you're avoiding those high fees, costs, commissions. and also estate planning and insurance, just making sure you're properly protected if, God forbid, something were to happen. And we're offering 1 to 2 meetings, 1 to 2 hours of our time at no cost. Give us a call. We would love to help. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, and fill out the form fill right there on our site. All right, let's get back on track. I'm here to go over the financial part. This is not a political stunt here, or just I'm trying to go over facts here. And we left off with a handful of different items, and we talked about how State Farms was exiting and out of the kind of the insurance space, along with many other carriers. It's hard to get new carriers out there, but when you're kind of going into this and trying to understand what has happened and why it happened, it's just disgusting the more you hear about it. So we already know that the County of LA suspended brush removal from the Palisades, leading to insurance company concerns. We already talked about also just the money that was allocated, right? Because they cut all this money. Well, why? Because they had to fund homelessness problems, which, oh, by the way, is only 6x worse. And one of the biggest problems that we've heard that's been nationally publicized is a luxury apartment for also homelessness. That's annoying, right? When these are multi-million-dollar units. You had also in 2014 the water bond project, which was $7.5 billion water bond that was passed in 2014, which includes $2.7 billion for new storage water, but no projects have started since then. And quite frankly, since 1979, think about the growth of California since 1979. How many people have come here? And you've had no new reservoirs, substantial reservoirs since then. You have also you want to continue, and here's the worst part and the most disgusting thing about the whole thing. Then you have people looting after these things have been burnt, and so on. Now, you may not think that's a big deal, or maybe that's the governor's problem, but you know what? When you don't prosecute for petty crimes in California, non-prosecution of petty crimes, of anything over $950, yeah, that's a big deal. Then you have videos, arson videos that are surfacing showing arson, not climate change, but of arson. And by the way, important to note, might I add, that some of these, one in particular, was by an illegal immigrant. It's just important to note, right? Because that's a whole nother thing. Even though we want to focus so much time on not IDing people for a United States only election, like this is the part that makes people go mad. It makes no sense. It's just insanity when you take a look at it. Then you have the homelessness population that increases by 8% since 2022, despite billions of dollars of taxpayers that I was talking about earlier. Open borders, easy, wide open. Trump predicted this, as I was saying, issues with arising with policies during a 7-minute conversation. Yet again, that was just recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. And then campaign promises on Gavin Newsom's website claims he had these issues under control, but the promises were allegedly misleading and unfulfilled. You know, it's crazy to me, right? When you hear this fair plan and FEMA coming in, and what was it, FEMA that wants to cover for debris removal, which is kind of a big deal. That costs a lot of money. That's insurance money costs that it would have had, but to actually remove it. But they're supporting local governments by funding 100% of the cost of debris removal and life-saving and life-sustaining activities, including fire suppression efforts, for the first 180 days. So I think that part is also important. They want to cover some of the costs. So that is our government. Obviously, they understand the magnitude of what is, in fact, happening. But sometimes I take a step back when I hear, like, where has the money been spent? I wish we audited. We, the people that have paid for these taxes, can take a step back and audit, where is our money going to the government? California is one thing. Here's one of my favorite ones that I like looking at. And this has come out pretty strongly, but the BEAD program, Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, where almost $43 billion grant was created, okay, to give rural areas high-speed internet. Now, $43 billion, then you have, now I get it, Elon Musk can sometimes be eccentric, but $43 billion? You have somebody, Elon Musk, that's putting satellites into space. That's going to be a lot cheaper than $43 billion in infrastructure to build, and the inconvenience and the cost. And that's why sometimes when you hear about job growth, how much job growth was created without government spending? That's an important concept because somebody has to dig those ditches. I get it. And I know the government doesn't want to give that contract to Elon Musk. But who's this about? Can our money be used in other places better? Man, sometimes you work so hard. I wish I knew somebody in the government because somebody's getting that contract, right, to dig those ditches for $43 billion for, and by the way, not one person, to my knowledge, to what's been said in multiple news outlets, not one house has been delivered with high-speed internet after $43 billion. I'm curious if they spent all $43 billion, but that's my point, right? This is the annoyance of where we're at today. This is why people want change. Taxation without representation. What have you done for me recently? I don't care about the $600 check that you give me because of the COVID crisis or because of the poor people that happened in the Carolinas, now in in California. That's neither here or there. When you say you're going to fix a problem and you made it 6 times worse with homelessness, when you say, for no reason, like look at the overregulation. You have a reservoir with 117 million gallons that you're emptying out with no backup plan? And you try to blame the Department of Water and Power like you don't know what you're doing? Like literally, think of the top 1,000 things you have to do, right? And that, assuming that like making sure a big fire breaks out is one of them. I'm sure with 1,000 things listed, fire should be one. Police, violence, immigrant, 1,000 topics. If you are the governor or the president of the United States, let's literally, on 365 days, let's say they only have to work 250 days. That's 4 items a day to get to that 1,000. That's all they have to do. And oh, by the way, they have to delegate. Oh, by the way, they have multiple assistants. Oh, by the way, that is your only damn job. Surely, with 1,000 different things. That's an extreme amount. What about 500? That's 2 things a day. This is why career politicians are trash. And if you want to fix our economy, if you want to fix what's going on in violent crimes, if you want to fix immigration, if you want to fix all these things that matter to you, this is where we need to get people in office that we actually vote for, not the dead people and the pets, right? But actually people in office, holding accountable. We need a new voting system. We need to get something that's verifiable, okay? No IDs. There are so many things messed up that what I call ass backwards in our country. And it's frustrating the hell out of me. I wish I knew somebody in Congress because then I could just I'll do it for you. And what are they doing? Pocketing billions of dollars? Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. And that is the theme of our government. Just because they say it on national television, they are lying. And I'm saying, not every one. I hope we got some good ones out there. But this is what we're dealing with when we have incompetence. And we are seeing incompetence right now with blown money, time and time and time again. Just last year alone, $3.3 billion was spent on homelessness. Like, what are they doing? Like, are you treating the problem or are you fixing the problem? Are you just giving them food, shelter, clothes? Or are you actually trying to fix the problem? Because we're only going to have more homelessness. You get what I'm saying? A lot of these problems sometimes are due to homelessness. I get it. Some of them are sick. Some of them need help. But what are you doing? Are you just feeding them, clothing them, and sheltering them just so they can go commit some more crimes? Some of these people have drug addictions. Yes, some of them do have severe mental health that needs to be treated. But what are you doing? And then to piggyback that, you say, yeah, you can steal up to $950. No problem. It's petty. Nah, it's like jaywalking. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that. This is the world we now live in. This is the frustrations of the Californians. And I'm trying to speak for all of them out there. I am. And I would love for you to comment on our YouTube channel on the specific episode to tell me where I'm wrong. What have I missed? Have I overstepped my boundaries? Oh, no, you've seen where all the money towards homelessness and to avoid voter ID fraud. Fraud. How silly of me. No voter ID identification required. I'm sure there's fraud. Naturally, there's fraud if you can't identify anybody. And what would stop an illegal from doing it? And by the way, I know people that work in the counties, in the libraries that were at the voting stations, and they were not allowed to ask for an identification, which is insane to me. And you start looking at all of these things that are going on, and they're piling up to this big humiliation. California has already been a humiliation, probably since 2020. But now this is a pure embarrassment and failure, and people are dying. Now, they've already died before, right, through violent crimes, through shootings, through theft, through multiple different things. But now it's en masse. So can we all agree that we can take a stand? I know they're already doing recalls for Karen Bass, and they tried for Gavin Newsom. I could have swore I thought there was 5 million people that recalled him, but only 1.5 million voted to remove him. Yeah, that to me sounds weird. Fishy. Makes no sense. And let's not even talk about fish. Oh, I said fishy. Poor choice of words for me with the whole Delta variant over here, just for the idea for what? To filter. California regulation prevents the capture of storage of water runoff and prioritize the Delta smelt fish, truly, over people. I mean, look what happens. There's no water. We have ample water coming from the north, as high as Canada, from our mountains in San Gabriel Mountains. What do you think's on there? We can capture it, but we divert it to the ocean. Congratulations. We want to save fish, but our people, they can die, right? I mean, gosh, hopefully you can sense the frustration, let alone the sarcasm. It is not a joking matter. And this is the world and the situation that we're in now. This is why we have to take a look at our policies. Policies and finance and economics all matter. They call it political risk. They call it impact, fiscal and monetary policy. These are things that affect finance. You have multiple countries that are leaving, or companies that are leaving California. What do you think that does to the tax dollars in California? This is the 5th largest economy in the world. This state of California is number 5 in the world. If you take it out, America is still number 1 even without California. But this is a powerhouse. You have some of the best lands, some of the most fertile lands. You got the beach. Look at the coast that's there. Look at the weather that's here. Look at the mountains not far from Los Angeles. Look at the deserts over in Palm Springs. There is so much over here. Look at the amusement parks, the Hollywood. So much is here. And yet, we're pissing it all away. We are now the laughingstock. I used to be proud to say I'm from Los Angeles. Now I say I'm from Southern California. Sure, I live in Los Angeles County, but our office is in San Bernardino County in Ontario. That's where our headquarters are. And unfortunately, still people connect the dots to say, oh, you must be idiots just like your government. And we're here to say we are not. We're trying our best to make a stance. Because as you can see here from the data that I compiled, it is just a joke. And I didn't go over everything I wanted to because I didn't want to make this a long episode. But hopefully you can see the frustration that us Californians, the Los Angelinos out there that are trying to deal with this madness, because surely nobody is happy of what's going on. And there is no leadership. When you have no leadership, failure is imminent. That was a fast show, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in with us this weekend. You can always reach out to myself or any one of our colleagues here at Falcon Wealth Planning. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, where you can go and visit our Knowledge Center, which redirects you to YouTube. We have over 1 million views, folks. And if you want us to discuss anything on YouTube, on the show, whatever, send your inquiry to radio@falconwp.com. That's radio@falconwp.com. And if you want this episode, any one of our previous episodes, you can go on podcast, Spotify. We have them all there. And folks, we want to thank you for your trust. We want you to feel free and feel comfortable to reach out with any questions that you have. I want you to have a fantastic weekend. Have a great week, and God bless.